relaxed, you know.
Yes, we're very
Yeah, we're
informal.
just curious and interested, you know, your experience, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to answer questions. I think that's the best way, and then I'm going to open it up to you, but I've got my own questions that I will present, and I'll answer them. And then if you have any other questions, you ask me.
Okay.
So everybody always says, what inspired you to fly? I was in college, and I didn't know anything about flying. I wanted to be a teacher. And all of a sudden, somebody took me out on an airplane ride, and as soon as we lifted off, the freedom and the looking around, and all of a sudden I thought, I can touch the face of God. And that was my inspiration to go on. And then in 1969, Oxford Airport opened. So I ride up there on my horse, and I continued my flying, continued going to school, and graduated in 1971. What attributes does one need to be a pilot? Well, I thought about this long and hard, and I thought, for myself, there were 3 big things that one needed. Number 1, you have to have diligence. You have to have a moral and conscientious work ethic all the time. Number 2, you have to have excellence. Strive to do your best, and this includes expertise and communication skills, because you're talking to the other pilot, and you're talking to the flight attendants, you're talking to the people on the ground. And the third thing, you need intelligence. I mean, you know, the dear Lord gave us all nice talents. Some people have a little bit more than others, but to be an airline pilot, you better be intelligent, because intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and then remain calm under pressure. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Page 2. Where was my first job in the aviation community? So after I got out of college and I couldn't find a teaching job because swamped with teachers, I started hanging around the airport, and I found out more and more about airplanes, just changing oil, changing tires, and then I got invited to Hales Corners, Wisconsin, which is the home of the Experimental Aircraft Association. I went to work with them with 5 other mechanics, and that's where I learned most of my mechanic work, and that's where I built my first airplane. It was a little single-seat airplane. It was very selfish, I called it, because when people looked at it, I was the only one who could fly in it. I couldn't take anyone for a ride. Selfish airplane. So I flew that east of the Mississippi for 3 years, and then finally, in 1978, I came back here after I attained my pilot's license, my commercial license, my instrument ticket, and I started hanging around the airport. Pilgrim Airlines heard of me, and they wanted to hire me as a mechanic. So I told them I would come work as a mechanic for them, only if they hired me as a pilot as soon as an opening came, which they did. So I fly for them, and I just was happy doing that when I saw all the other pilots going and vying for airline jobs. I thought, I could do this. So I had to think about which airline I'd like to fly for. And people were going to United, American, and Delta. Delta Airlines is the airline to go with. So I applied to all of them, and Delta was the first one that says, nope, you got 4 eyes. Yes, I had LASIK surgery about 5 years ago, but I had glasses, and Delta would not accept anybody, nobody, if you had one thing wrong with you. And we all know that's not that's nothing to do with you. You still have your intelligence and excellence, but you know, if you have glasses, they consider that a downer. So I did not get hired by Delta. So what other qualifications do you need before applying to a job? Well, you need your 4-year degree. You need 1,500 hours of flying time. You need a valid commercial pilot's license, an instrument rating, an airline transport rating, and you have to be able to pass a first-class medical, which means that you better not be on any kind of drugs, because if you smoke marijuana or around marijuana, it's in a stranded here till it grows out and falls off. They can test whether you were marijuana. Yep. Now this is when I got hired. I've got to tell you, I don't know whether they've relaxed any of this, because we know that marijuana is very prevalent all over. But again, I would not want to fly in an airplane with a pilot who was using marijuana. It's like drinking. Okay? So now I apply for all the airlines, and I I didn't know that you have to prepare for the big interview. And finally, this little airline that I applied to was called North Central up in Minnesota. They called me up to come have an interview. On July 29, 1979, I was to fly out there and interview them. I would go back 24 hours, I'm flying with Pilgrim. And Pilgrim Airlines, they were a good little airline, but I was a co-pilot, and one of my duties was, you get out of the airplane, you go and greet the people, bring them in, and load their baggage in the baggage compartment.
Wow.
So here comes Stevie Wonder. Everybody know who Stevie Wonder is, right?
Yeah. Oh, really?
Okay, and he's got a big foot locker about this tall. And I was supposed to load this in the baggage compartment. So I started trying to lift it up. I couldn't lift it up, so there were two guys around there, and they said, we'll help you, we'll help you. So they grabbed the bottom of that. I grabbed the top. And I'm trying to get it in, and I got it halfway in, and they decided to change their grip. Well, they didn't tell me, and the baggage thing went bang on my finger, and I went, oh man! And I'm on the ground like this. And the captain came out, and he said, you know, your finger is all blown up. He took me to the clinic, drilled a little hole in my finger, and it subsided. And they put a big bandage on it. So the next day now is my interview. I fly out to Minnesota, and I'm talking to the chief pilot there, and he's asked me questions about what I did and how come I want to be a pilot and what do I have to offer. And finally he said, you know, I've enjoyed talking to you, but I'm going to talk to at least 150 other pilots this week. How am I going to know to call you back? And I sat there with my finger and I said, sir, with all due respect, if you don't understand this, you'll never call me back. He stood up, shook my hand, he said, I'll see you on the flight line.
That's a great story.